Melinda, I want to record this because my hopes are that on the other side of this journey, you kind of become a part of our community and work with us. And since you're like one of the first people that have come on to our program, I'd like to record what I'm trying to do and have you become like a ambassador at the start of it. And then maybe when you finish your sentence or your transition to home confinement, you can work with us and we could turn back to this video that really shows how we had this initial call. Is that okay?
That would be great.
Okay. So I'm recording right now, and this is the screen. I want to give you the backstory of what we're doing. The Bureau of Prisons right now is in a transitional mode, and I've been active and working with them for many years and trying to bring programs like the First Step Act. And I'm working now to bring other programs that would show if a person has a job and a place to live and a really good release plan, that person shouldn't be in prison. There should be a pathway for that person to earn freedom. That's what all of our programs are about. And on the BOP's website, if you click on this section here, you've got the director really talking about that right now, where she's talking about her goal is to transition the Bureau of Prisons so that people get out, or so that the staff realize their goal is not to make good inmates, but to help people emerge as good neighbors. So on this section here, which I'll probably continue to develop, I'm really just trying to support the director's message and show we want to help her transition the bureaucracy in such a way that it's producing good neighbors, law-abiding, contributing citizens, regardless of what challenges. And in order for them to do that, we really have to create good plans. Not the institution has to make plans for us, but we have to teach people who are serving sentences how do they make good plans so that they can come out successfully. And one of the lessons that I kind of found value in is I like to learn from people who had gone through it, people who had been through the prison system. And that's why I use my backstory, because in the high security prisons where I go, the reason that I have credibility is because I did so much time in prison. And now even the Bureau of Prisons is profiling that on their website. So we can show that to people and say that the goal is to see what's happening what can happen in the months and in the years ahead. And to do it, we need a really good plan. So in here, I'm showing people, hey, that's what I had to do when I was going through the prison journey, was to build a good plan. If you look at my wiki page, you can see all of that planning and how it started and how it's validated from very early on in my sentence. I was always thinking about, okay, how am I going to get out of here? What kind of credentials can I build? And I do this to show people in prison, regardless of what decisions you made in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean what your future is going to be. And so I want people to see that. And that's what this planning section is about. The employment section is because we're working to get big employers to hire formerly incarcerated people if they are really documenting their story. And so we're building this website with the goal of it becoming something like a LinkedIn, where people can memorialize their story. Justice impacted people can memorialize their story to really change really wretched statistics like this. It says 2 out of every 3 people that return to society after confinement struggle with unemployment or are underemployed 5 years after their release. And I know this personally because it's one of the missions of our group, is to try and build these bridges for justice impacted people to get into the job market until, they can get into the next stage of their career. Mm-hmm. So, or help us grow. This is a really big problem in society, and we need smart people like you to help us reach all kinds of people. And we're always creating new resources that we send to people in prison. But that's one of the challenges that I have, is that the more distribution I get by going into prisons, like down here, you'll see these are some of the prisons where we are already licensed and bringing our courses in. I mean, every one of these prisons has thousands of people. So you're talking about there's more than 200,000 people in on tablets that access our digital content, and another 100,000 people plus in 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 live programs. So that's 300,000 people that are seeing our things, and these 300,000 people are always asking for more resources because they're in there serving, 10 months, 10 years, 30 years, and they want to get more stuff. So I'm always creating more stuff, and these are like people that I've profiled that can document how it changed their life. So all these people were once serving multiple life sentences, but now they're all home and leading successful lives in the community. So I want to profile all of this on the home page and then show on this page here how we're building it as a nonprofit, and then showing, how I don't want anybody in prison or any justice impacted person to pay because they don't really have any money. So my own company donates 10% of all revenues into this group, into funding the nonprofit. So we're like the only funders right now, except a couple of smaller ones. But I expect to grow this. And when we grow it, we could show, like, everything we do, we show. If somebody makes a donation, or if we make a donation, we're showing, hey, these are the books that we're sending in. And, we could show the value of it all. But all of this stuff is documented. So those are books that we send to people for free. There are institutional book donations. So when institutions purchase books from us, we match them. So far, our nonprofit has donated $42,700 worth of these books to people in prison, because those are institutional orders that we've received, and we match those orders from our nonprofit. And then we have this roster of people that we're building profiles for. So you could see here, like, if I were to type in yours, Bixler, it'll go right down to your folder. It'll provide a section there of your specific profile, and then it will start profiling over here. Well, what is our team recorded? So right now, the only thing I show is that there are 8 journals. There might be more. Did you do a biography already?
Yes.
So it's not you did one, but it's not published. Is that right?
Right. I did that one at the very beginning, and then I started my journals July 4th, and I've been doing them every day.
Okay. So this will be updated by tomorrow, I would say, because they're in the Philippines. I think they're a day ahead. So I think they come online late this afternoon and start working. But if once it's done, I would say by Tuesday, this will be done. And if I went to your profile, you look at mine periodically, right?
Yes.
Okay, so mine, I'm trying to, like, I'll teach a tool on mine, and I would say before you surrender, I will have a workbook on it where I'm going to profile some of your stuff in it. So you'll, like, be in the book, and we're showing you, hey, here's a model of somebody who started doing this before she surrendered. So I definitely want to make sure that everything is added here on your document. And, like today, on today's journal, I'll send this video, and we'll be able to actually embed the video into your journal for July 23rd. Or maybe maybe it'll be a part of your release plan. Did you have a release plan already?
I've been working on it, but I haven't, excuse me, I haven't sent it for upload yet, because I was hoping I could get a little bit more done.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me show you where a good place to look is if you look here on mine, and if you go to my release plan, and I'm going to do another one because I think that people should have iterative release plans. So this one is an example of a release plan that I wrote as a sample, but it's a snapshot in time. Obviously, I'm already done with my time in prison. Okay, I want to create lessons so that people see your release plan should be something that incidentally, that on all of these lessons here, there's always this original lesson. And if you click that original lesson, you'll see where I gave a video instruction on it. I talk about what you should be thinking about when you're building this release plan. And I think I'm showing you what you could do. I would also encourage you to look. Let me see if there's one here. Where's that one? Let me go back to Santos. I had all of these links. Biography, maybe? Yeah. So see, what I'm trying to show is that everything I'm doing now is a result of what I was planning decades ago, and opportunities opened. So like right now, a good release plan would follow a pattern where you're kind of describing, this is where I am right now. I don't even know what prison's going to. So I'll give you an example. So I would say a good release plan would start off by just saying, okay, what am I anticipating my release date looks for? I might say, my name is Melinda. I'm thinking, I'm really thinking a lot about going to prison. I know that it's a stressful time, and I know the unit team has a tremendous amount of discretion, but I'm thinking based on an 18-month sentence that I'm going to get 15% off for good conduct time. I'll take that into my calculus, and I know that I'm going to earn some earned time credits. So I think the best case for me would be that I'd get out of prison after about 9 months. The worst case for me, I think I'd get out of prison at about 12 months. But I'm going to be doing everything I possibly can to be a good candidate to get out at 9 months, maybe even 8. That's going to be the discretion on the Bureau of Prisons. But I know that prison's not the only challenge. I also have a challenge of rebuilding my life, because when I get out, I still have the complication of dealing with a case manager in a halfway house. I'm going to have the complication of having to earn a living. I'm going to have a complication of reputational damage as a result of a felony conviction. And I really am still a young woman, and I've got a long career ahead of me, and I really want to live as a contributing member of society. And I don't want this experience of being in prison to define my life. I want to build something. So while I'm in prison, one of the things I'm intending to do is to journal. I want to show people I don't expect to have an easy transition. So I have to prepare. I have to build a ladder that's going to allow me to climb back out. And this, I've identified these books that I'm going to read while I'm incarcerated. If I'm going to be there I'm going to put an 8-month plan together, because an 8-month plan is probably the best possible outcome. And in 8 months, I'm going to read at least 2 books a month. So I'm going to put 16 books. I'm going to choose 16 books that I'm going to read while I'm in prison. And every time I read that book, I'm going to write a book report. And on that book report, I'm going to say why I chose the book, what I learned from reading that book, how reading that book has helped me prepare for success upon release. I'm going to define the different ways that I hope to reconcile with society. I'm going to be thinking about, what do I want my life to look like in 5 years and in 10 years? And when I'm standing before a judge asking for early termination of supervised release, I want to be able to turn back and show him, this was the plan I built before I went to prison. I was transparent about it, and I hoped to use this as a tool to help me launch my life when I get out. And you start just writing that information out on your plan, and then your journal entries are going to fulfill that plan. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you like a sample template today. I'll send it to you after this, that I said, try to answer these questions to the extent, but remember, this is public. So there might be one that you keep as a for yourself, and one that you keep for your audience, because it's public. But I'm a big believer, Melinda, that you can, if you start sowing seeds right now, your life is going to be very different on the other side of this journey. I know I will be working 7 days a week. As you see, it's early Sunday morning. I've been here since like 4 in-the-morning. And this is like a ministry for me. I'm really passionate about it, but I need to have other people on our team, right? So like we could immediately use you as a consultant on the other side of this, where you could start earning an income that way. Or you've got skills, that's not a consultant, really is just somebody who's who's assuaging the anxiety of somebody going to prison, and they might talk with them about, okay, this is the way I prepared for my PSR, this is how I did a sentencing narrative, this is what happened at sentencing. That's just helpful for people to hear. And that pays, $40 or $50 an hour for that role. But there are more things that you could do because you've got other skills. Like, say, why don't you help us build a strategy to go out to businesses so that we can make a bigger impact on society, and say, I have to create that comp plan for that. That's like a phase 2 project of this. But it would be something like you'd be able to show people, I'll be developing these assets here while you're away. But if you go to this section here, but this is going to really grow see our impact, and it will show the number of profiles that and we haven't even really launched yet, but we already have 140 of these profiles built. There's 11 more waiting to get built. This I could, once I launch and it's really live, by the time you go to prison, I would not be surprised to see that at 1,000. Yes. And this to be, at 3,000, because there's going to be a lot more people asking once I start really announcing it in prisons, because with 300,000 people, there'll just be a lot more people asking to be on, and I won't have resources to put everybody on. So then they'll say, how many bio entries? I'd like to see this at 100 journal entries. 10x that, 8,000. Right? When you show this to people, it can become a compelling thing to say, wow, look at how many justice impacted people there are, and look at the impact we could have. I mean, we've contributed quite a bit of our resources, and I'm just a little company. I'm just a guy that was in prison my whole life, but I can show, let me see if I could find a tab. Yeah, I show on here, everything. Everything is really transparent. So if I look at this section here on prison vessels, and we'll be building this on the talent section, it shows the nonprofit and how much we've contributed and how much we've raised. So like when I get an order, so this when we put the entire sum into the nonprofit when we were getting it started. But if it scrolls down, it'll show every dollar that we've put in from the start of this. And this is always iterative. But since we started in 2020, our company has given $485,000. We've raised another $568 from businesses and individuals for a total of $1 million. We're just people that got out of prison. We're not a huge organization. So I always feel really proud about that. Yeah. And say, this is such a big problem, such a huge ecosystem, that I'd say we probably, in order to do this right, we need to raise a couple of $1 million a year. And I think by the time you get out of prison, we'll have a machine in place that allows us to do that. But we'd have to have, an executive on that side, on a fundraising side, or something along those. But, that's what I'm developing. And I think that you publishing all the time, it gives you something to do. But it will also, what you could also do, we will give you, by the time you get there, around the time you get there, if you're going to get there in August, I would say by the end of August, I'll have one of these done, where I'll build a book like this that is Prison Professor's Talent, and it'll show you how do you teach it, what's a bio, what's a journal. I'll probably profile some of your journal entries on there, how to do it at different stages, what do book reports look like, here's some examples, what is a release plan, here are some examples. Start writing this, but then I'll also be explaining how, on a micro level, this helps you, right? It helps you, it motivates you, it keeps you focused while you're in there. Mm-hmm. It helps you sell yourself, okay, which is really important, and I'll give descriptions of that. But on a macro level, it helps me as an advocate. I'm going, for example, where are you again?
Pennsylvania.
How far are you from Philadelphia?
An hour and a half to 2 hours.
Oh, that's kind of far.
No, well, it's close. I
have to go to a conference there. I have to go to a conference there, but I think you'll be in prison when because it's at the end of August.
Oh.
It's in the end of August. The American Correctional Association is having a conference there, and there'll be all types of prison administrators there, including many leaders of the Bureau of Prisons. This is where I go to show them, hey, these are innovative things that we are doing to advance this concept that if you have a job and a place to live, you should not be in prison. So I'll be able to show this, right? So this site it's why I'm pressing to build it, our tech team to build it. I just don't have that much in the way of financial resources to hire a bunch of people right now. So I do it all myself. That's why but I love doing this. This is like fun. This is my whole mission in life is to try and change the system. But if I had 10,000 people profiled on here, what I visualize coming is that, like, I'll probably do we'll have on the homepage of it, like, featured students, who is the, with like contests, who's producing the most journal entries, who's writing the most, and featuring it. So there'd be like a graphic that's kind of like, well, it's kind of like on this page, right? This is actually, I told the tech team last night, build me something like this. So probably by Tuesday, there's actually a couple of exciting things I'll tell you about that is happening this week. So one of them is if you go to here, bop.gov, you see how they have that river that's going to start turning.
Yes.
Like that. So I want you to see, we're going to have a section on our site on the homepage where we'll feature like 5 or 6 people, and they're turning on there and say, these are the people that are really changing their lives. And so I'll have your picture on there and your bio. And then if you clicked it, like you click it, go back to that one. You click it, it would then go to your bio or something about you, and then they could follow you along. That's one of the cool things that's happening on the website right now. A second cool thing that's happening on the website right now, when somebody comes to your site by the first time, a pop-up window will come up and they'll ask somebody to subscribe to your newsletter, to subscribe to your feed, and it's only your feed.
Oh, I love that. So
it'll be the first time they go to it, there'll be a big pop-up that comes up, and it'll say, put your email and your name, and then they click a little button, and then they're in your feed. And then every time you publish something new, if they're subscribed to you, they get notified of that, hey, Melinda just published something new. So that's going to be really cool, because that's how you build the support. Like when I tell people, like one of the things I have you read Earning Freedom? I think you did, because you said you read. So when I ask people, say, like, how did I get married in prison? Because most people, you lose everything when you're in prison. How did that happen? And some people say, oh, you were lucky, she just found you. And I said, that's really not accurate. For me, it started because in 1987 or 88, when I first went into the prison system, I got inspired by reading Socrates or reading Mandela or reading Viktor Frankl and those people. And they helped me realize I've got to start documenting and building a story. And because I built a strong story, I was able to start a lot of relationships, including with professors and, business opportunities and all kinds of things. So it's the early seeds that we sow. And I would argue that because we're having this conversation right now, on July 23rd, 2023, you are going to be in a position in 2025 to be, when you're done with all of this, or maybe 2026, because it's going to be when your judge completely frees you and you're free to travel. Maybe you're in a position to say, okay, I'm an executive with the nonprofit, and I'm earning a living by going and getting people like the National Football League to sponsor, prison professors, because it's just such a big problem. That's who we need to sponsor us.
Yes.
We need Nike. We need cannabis companies. We need, anybody that's kind of at a high risk that has a lot of people in prison.
Right.
They should be sponsoring us. And I mean, I have a friend that founded a group called FAM. I don't know. Are you familiar with FAM? Families Against Mandatory Minimums. They're one of the most, I would say they are the biggest advocacy group for against mandatory minimum sentences and sentence reform. They've been very effective. The founder, her name is Julie Stewart. She started it because her brother got arrested for marijuana and he served 5 years in prison. And she was just so horrified by that she started this nonprofit around the same time I was starting my prison sentence. And now it's one of the biggest nonprofits in DC, probably has a budget of $30 million or something annually. So they employ a lot of people, and they're very effective in fighting this ecosystem, because there's a whole ecosystem around mass incarceration, and it takes a lot of money to fight that. But they got funded by people that are high net worth people that somehow got brought into the system. And in that case, I mean, she told me the story is that one of their biggest funders was a guy that had a successful retail business. He got targeted by the feds. He thought it was completely unjust. It was a violation of his First Amendment rights and so on. He was acquitted, and his company is really successful. So he donated something like, I don't know, millions of dollars to get annually. And that's how FAM became FAM. Well, that's what my mission is really, to help people emerge successfully. I want to change policies so that I believe that if the Bureau of Prisons says if somebody has a home and a place to work and can function and has built a good release plan, there's no reason for that person to be in prison. Prison, it's hurting you. It's not helping society, okay, right, in any way. There's no value society is going to get by locking you in a prison.
Right.
But if we document the story showing how hard you worked and what you built, I believe society is better. I believe you're better, and the BOP still gets to manage you because it's transparent, it's public, and I need people to help me tell that story in the Northeast. So yeah. I think that this becomes an asset, and with your permission, I'll publish this on my journal today. Hey, I had a conversation with a lady who I'm trying to groom to be an ambassador for our program, and you're going to try and do it, and this is going to be your job for you. And now when you come home and you meet with a case manager, you could show them, hey, I started planning for this before I even got there.
Right.
And to me, that's like this. Those are the kinds of seeds that I started to sow. I could always point back and say, this is what I've done. Or if you're in prison, there's something else you can do. Because of that RSS feed function, okay, you're going to meet women there that don't have your clarity of thought and your direction. And they're going to be bored, and they're going to complain, and they're not going to have a way to get ready. You could show them, look what I'm doing. Well, I'll send you like these kinds of books so they can see it. They will see your profile in there. They will see these different things. They could then send an invite to us, and you could be like a mentor to them. Yeah. And you could then get credit for that. So like on your journal, you're going to want to say, today I enrolled this many people, and we'll profile that on your site. And that's so awesome. Imagine now you get home and you say, I taught 75 women how to prepare for success after release. That's what I'd like to see happening. That's how we build a real organic grassroots advocacy effort. And that helps me when I'm in Philadelphia or speaking with correctional leaders. I said, this is a peer-driven program, and it's funded by corporations and people that want to see the same thing that the director wants to see, which is improved outcomes of the system.